They said Jay-Z was my dad. They said...
we out here on vacation in the Bahamas, another beautiful day. Check it out, check it out. Boom. I want to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. Versus... Whoa, wait, don't give away too much, man. Yeah, okay, I can say clone, I want to say clone. All right, so there's like a clone bang link.
Epstein files reveal the largest genocide in human history, and it is being hidden from your eyes. 8 million children go missing every single year. Look at all these people with black eyes. Politicians, your famous actors, the Pope, high-level people. They all participate. This is an email from the Epstein files. All you need is a blood transfusion from the pack and you reverse aging.
You think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Is your money dirty money?
If you live...
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact...
Why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it. A heart...
But you earned it...
In the aftermath of the Epstein revelations, a broader unease began to settle in. An awareness that the story might not end with a single name or a single set of crimes. Reports and conversations in the public sphere started to suggest that other figures from the entertainment world had, in some way, been drawn into the same orbit. Among the names mentioned in these discussions was actor Bryshere. Much of what surrounds his name remains unverified and speculative, dependent on claims made by others rather than statements from Gray himself. Still, the contrast between his early promise and his later struggles has prompted difficult questions. Once seen as a rising talent with a future secured by visibility and acclaim, he later appeared in circumstances that reflected personal turmoil, battles with substance dependence, public incidents that suggested deep psychological distress, and choices that seemed far removed from the trajectory he once occupied. Some commentators have pointed to what was described at the time as a mentorship arrangement in Hollywood, suggesting that the environment around him may have been more complicated than it appeared. Figures like Katt Williams and Jaguar Wright have spoken publicly about what they believe was happening behind closed doors, often facing dismissal or skepticism for doing so. Their accounts, while serious, remain claims, part of a larger conversation filled with uncertainty and conflicting narratives. In recalling his own early experiences in the industry, Katt Williams described moments when he felt pressured in ways that made him uncomfortable, including an encounter he says he refused. His reflections, like many others, contribute to a portrait of an industry where power, access, and vulnerability can intersect in troubling ways. What remains most visible, however, is not the certainty of what happened, but the weight of what may have been endured. The human cost carried by a young man whose public life unfolded under intense scrutiny, and whose private struggles became part of a story far larger than himself.
They canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my in front of all my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do? He did all of that. I'm thinking I'm the only black person on the script. I get there, it's 3 other black guys on there. Ooh. Huh.
Well, you wonder what they did.
I told him no. What y'all do? And this is why when I walk in a room, heads go down.
To understand how Bryshere Gray's name became entangled in these conversations, some have pointed to what was described at the time as a mentorship arrangement. According to various accounts, his former manager, Charlie Mack, introduced him to prominent figures in the industry during a period when his career was rapidly ascending through his role on Empire. From the outside, it appeared to be an opportunity aligned with growth, guidance, and access, an expected step for a young actor navigating sudden visibility. In later reflections shared by others, however, questions were raised about what that environment may have truly involved. These claims suggest that the experience may not have matched the hopeful framing it was given publicly. Around the same period, separate legal matters involving one of the individuals named in these discussions were drawing attention, adding further complexity to how these relationships were perceived in hindsight. What remains difficult is separating confirmed fact from interpretation, and personal testimony from documented record. Yet, the recurring theme in these accounts is not the certainty of events, but a lingering concern that what was presented as professional guidance may have carried pressures and dynamics that were far more complicated than they appeared at the time.
Federal investigators, James Rosemond, the music manager turned nose cant kingpin, was reportedly questioned about the preferences of entertainers, including whether Sean Diddy Combs was having relationships with not-of-age boys.
At the time, The individuals being discussed held significant influence within the industry, enough, some believe, to shape how stories surfaced, or failed to surface, in the public eye. There are claims that certain reports and online posts disappeared as quickly as they appeared, fueling a perception that power could quietly redirect attention away from uncomfortable narratives. These assertions, while widely circulated, remain part of a broader field of allegation rather than documented proof. Public attention intensified when Jaguar Wright began speaking in detail about what she believed had taken place behind closed doors. In her accounts, she described moments of distress involving Bryshere Gray and others, recalling scenes that suggested fear, confusion, and urgency. The descriptions were unsettling, yet unclear. Fragments of memory shared without the full context of what may have preceded or followed them. What stayed with many listeners was not the certainty of the events, but the image of young people appearing overwhelmed and disoriented, and the implication that whatever occurred in private left visible emotional traces. The absence of clarity around these stories has left them suspended between testimony and unanswered questions, where speculation fills the silence left by a lack of confirmed detail.
Bisexual, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed a dog.
My husband was doing things to boys and did stuff to your son, and you ain't do shit about it. Bilal told me everything.
Their good friend who
Bilal told me. Jay, he told me that you knew Will was f***ing your child. Yes, he did. Wonder why he left that out of his Tasha K interview.
In that interview, he said a lot. He said a lot.
He said everything but the thing that was important. That he know that Will Smith, Jaden, he Bryshere and he Meek Mills, and you know it, Bilal. Now I don't give no how far in the desert you run. You'll go from a Philly to a sand, they'll still get you.
He's Philly though, Jay. It's Philly.
He Meek Milk. As far as I'm concerned, he Meek Milk. I ain't calling him Mill no more, that's milk. That's Meek Milk. Added to the honeycomb. You got a meal.
So you believe the Dwayne Martin story, that could have happened?
Of course, everybody knows.
Jaguar Wright's claims extended beyond industry figures to include members of Bryshere Gray's own family. In her telling, she suggested that those closest to him may have known more than they acknowledged at the time. These assertions are serious and deeply unsettling, yet they remain allegations offered without independent verification. What gives these statements their emotional weight is not only who they implicate, but what they imply. The possibility that a young person, still growing into adulthood, may have lacked the protection and advocacy he needed while navigating an environment defined by power and influence. References to other widely reported cases of exploitation have been used by some to frame these concerns within a larger pattern, though each situation carries its own complexities and unknowns. At the center of these accounts is a quiet, troubling question about responsibility. Who was present, who understood the risks, and whether anyone intervened in time. It is a question that lingers not because of confirmed answers, but because of the silence that surrounds them.
Andy, I'm talking about Bryshere's mom. I'ma kick you in your and I'ma go to work North Philly style. F*** you. And Charlie, you happy now? He's a gay star. Are you happy now, Andy? For a book that didn't sell. I hope that new husband of yours leaves you. And maybe it's time you tell your son why his father is really in jail, his biological father, for all of his life and what you had to do with it. You CI.
Some interpretations of the released documents have led commentators to believe that the problem extended beyond isolated individuals, suggesting the presence of a wider culture within the industry where access, influence, and vulnerability intersected in troubling ways. In these discussions, references have been made to language found in the records that appeared to compare powerful figures to one another, reinforcing the perception, fair or not, of an interconnected environment shaped by privilege and secrecy. Jaguar Wright also recounted a moment when, she says, Bryshere Gray's mother approached her for help. In Wright's version of events, she advised that Bryshere be distanced from certain people she believed were central to the situation. According to her account, that advice was not followed. These claims, while unverified, contribute to a portrait of hesitation and missed intervention of a young person remaining in circumstances that others later described as harmful. What lingers is not simply the allegation itself, but the idea of time passing without decisive action, and the quiet erosion that can occur when warning signs go unanswered.
That came to me and begged me for my help. I told her to get the fuck away from Charlie. I did everything that I could do to get Bryshere, to help her get Bryshere out of California into Chicago safe, to be ready for filming. She knew she knew what Will did to him. But because of Charlie, see? And Charlie had promised her all kinds of things. And all she had to do was pretend to be a broken down single mom who worked her way up through the ghetto and raised a superstar for television, when the truth is she wasn't nothing but a dealer's. That's all she ever was. She went from dealer to dealer, and then she snitched on whoever she needed to snitch on until she could get to the bigger bag, until she got with Larry Lair, my friend who raised Bryshere in $1 million home. Your whole book is lies, Andy. And I hope anybody that bought it asks for a refund and demands it comes out of your pocket every time they see your son's gay. You and Charlie Mack.
Yaz's mom brought Yaz to Charlie. And Charlie came and got me and was like, what you want to do? I started writing for Yaz, like that's why it makes me mad to see what's going on with him right now. Like I can't believe what I'm watching.
Right.
I can't believe what I'm watching. Like for you to flip that way and turn like you doing gay porn and like what is wrong with you, man? No disrespect to anybody gay, but it's just like
because it was him.
It's a kid I watched from a grow up, so it's like, and then like the mental issues that he have. You feel what I'm saying? I know he had mental issues. Like he ain't all the way there. So to watch all this happening, it's like, all right, where are all the people that was around when the money?
After the release of the Epstein documents, additional voices entered the conversation, each adding their own account to an already complicated narrative. Among them was Bilal, a longtime associate of Will Smith, who spoke publicly about what he claimed to have witnessed and what he said had been confided in him by Bryshere Gray. His statements were detailed and deeply personal, describing conversations in which Gray allegedly expressed distress over his experiences within the industry. Bilal also made broader claims involving well-known figures, recounting private encounters he said he had observed. These descriptions, while striking, remain part of his personal testimony rather than independently verified fact. For some, his familiarity with the individuals involved gave his words a sense of immediacy. For others, the lack of corroboration raised further questions. What these interviews ultimately contributed was not clarity, but a heavier atmosphere of uncertainty. They added to a growing body of allegations that, taken together, painted a picture of an environment where boundaries, power, and vulnerability were often described as deeply entangled. Yet, as with many of the accounts surrounding this story, they exist in a space defined by claims, memory, and unresolved tension rather than documented resolution.
Open the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne and having angst with Will.
Let me process that for a second.
There was a couch, and Will was bent over on the couch, and Dwayne was standing up. Murder. Like, it was murder.
In a later interview, Bilal expanded on his earlier statements, offering a more detailed account of a moment he said occurred while he and Bryshere Gray were in Chicago. According to Bilal, Gray appeared deeply distressed after a period of heavy substance use and began speaking emotionally about experiences he believed had harmed him. Bilal framed this moment as a private breakdown in which Gray confided painful allegations about people he had encountered within the industry. He also stated that he had been asked to look after Gray during that time, suggesting that he witnessed firsthand the extent of Gray's instability and emotional turmoil. The story, as told by Bilal, centers less on spectacle and more on the image of a young man overwhelmed by unresolved trauma, speaking through confusion, fear, and exhaustion. As with many of the claims surrounding this broader narrative, these statements remain part of personal testimony rather than verified record. Yet they contribute to a portrait of vulnerability and distress that continues to shape how this chapter of Bryshere Gray's life is discussed, defined not by certainty, but by the emotional weight of what was said in moments of visible collapse.
Robbing Chicago for Empire. It's a damn mess. It's no other way to put it. This dude is going crazy, right? He's out there allegedly with male prostitutes. He's pissing in the trailer. He's acting psychotic, right?
The same thing he's doing now.
Beyond that. But this is why a show is going on. I pulled him to the side. I said, listen, I'm here to help you and so forth and so on. So he was like, all right, I feel that. He said, everybody on the set know you. Everybody seem like they love you. Okay. I want to love you because everybody else love you. I said, if that's what you want to do, then do it. But he kept acting up. And then one day I said, what the F is wrong with you? And he was like, you know. He said, you know Will me. You know Diddy made me suck his piss. You know what's going on. You know Charlie made me suck. And I said, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. So he crying, no blood is coming from his nose. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I'm like, yo, listen. Somebody stole 2 hard drives from Jada's house. So now we get into why she's even more mad. Jada will watch at the houses. She had her laptop. She would stick her hard drive in, right? Boom, and hook it up to the TV. And she could play whatever video she watching. So I'm seeing videos of her and Will and a bunch of some celebrities, everything. Because remember, the last interview I told you, if you don't sue me, I'm going to let people know who you've been hitting with them deals. And I said, if you don't sue, I'm going to sue. So I told you, being Muslim, whatever I say I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do, period. And I got to have evidence. So she's sitting down here watching, playing with herself, high as a kite, right? Not caring who's in the house, whether kids watching, nothing. She's in her own world. So that's how I was able to see the tapes. I saw them, and I saw some things that were unreal, and I saw celebrities on the tape.
Ooh.
I'm under penalty of perjury. If anything in here is a lie, my ass going to jail, period. There's no if, there's no ends, there's no buts. You know what you and Diddy was doing together in y'all younger years. All that's coming out.
Who else did you see allegedly on the tapes?
Tyrese with Will and Jada. Then the one with Charlie Mack and Will. Jada's not on it, but you can hear her say, make him spit up, period. So when these tapes come out, people will know I'm telling. So it's time for everybody that got a credible story, I should say, to start the process.
At first, many dismissed Bilal's statements as an attempt to draw attention to himself. His claims were viewed with skepticism, placed alongside the many voices that often emerge when public scandals unfold. But as more documents related to Epstein entered the public record, some began to revisit earlier interviews with a different lens, reconsidering whether certain accounts deserved closer attention. In online discussions and comment sections, people expressed a growing sense of distrust toward the systems and personalities they once accepted without question. For some, Bryshere Gray's story came to represent something larger, a reminder that personal decline can sometimes reflect pressures and circumstances that remain hidden from public view. What followed was not consensus, but reflection. Viewers and readers offered their own interpretations, shaped by doubt, concern, and an uneasy recognition that fame and influence do not always protect the vulnerable. What remains, after all the interviews, claims, and public reactions, is a lingering sense of unease rather than clarity. Viewers are left to sit with conflicting accounts, unanswered questions, and the visible toll these stories have taken on real lives. The conversation has moved beyond individual accusations and into a broader reflection on power, influence, and the vulnerability of those navigating an industry that often operates behind closed doors. Rather than offering conclusions, this moment invites quiet consideration. It asks the audience not for outrage, but for thoughtfulness, an awareness that truth, when obscured by rumor, testimony, and silence, becomes difficult to separate from perception, and so, the story does not end with certainty. It ends with questions that linger long after the noise fades.